Wherever you are, welcome to another of my takes on China. And today I'm going to appeal to you to do something you may not often do. I often ask you to share widely because I want the messages that I have to get to a wider audience. But today I'm going to appeal to you. Please consider sharing this, even if you don't usually. It's a major news story that is not on any of the international media outlets. Murdoch's press will never publish this. The BBC, the ABC, Fox News, CNN, they might give it fleeting coverage, but only with a negative slant. The world will never find out, unless they follow China stories, that this has happened. Terrorism is the top of my mind today. One of the most horrendous cases of terrorism that I can remember seeing in all my time in southern China is being ignored by Western media because it doesn't fit their narrative. The kinds of terrorist bombs which are the most horrible are the kinds that inflict maximum damage on people who have minimal impact on the reasons why the terrorists put them there. Ordinary, everyday people. I can never agree with organizations like the IRA, whose bombs I've personally witnessed. I understand what they did. Mostly they targeted military targets. But in Hong Kong, the 3 people convicted yesterday didn't do that. They targeted civilians in an effort to increase the most terror. A medical clinic was blown up. A train station was blown up near the border with Shenzhen, and a public car park was the next target. These are not people fighting a war. These are sick individuals making a point, and thank goodness the Hong Kong police caught up with them before they could do more damage, and thank goodness they were so inept they didn't actually kill anyone, even though the judge pointed out they had no compunction against killing. It was luck that prevented deaths, not their targeting. Lowu train station is right on the border of Shenzhen. They dropped a bomb onto a rail carriage there. Kurita Medical Center was also damaged when they left a bomb in the men's toilets of the Accident and Emergency Center. How does bombing innocent civilian targets help their cause? I really don't know. But I'm very pleased they got caught before they put another bomb into the public car park in Xiang Tak Estate. They planned to close down the border crossing with this. These people weren't convicted under the national security law either, so we're not seeing the usual claims of China's oversight here. These were convicted under anti-terrorism laws which are all created under the auspices of the United Nations for international continuity. Nuri Vatashi points out in a really well-informed post on X that some of the explosive used in 2019 were the same explosive used in London in 2005. How did the same explosive used in a series of Islamist suicide bombings on the other side of the world end up in Hong Kong 15 years later? Now, we can bet the link between them is either being investigated now or is already known, and there will be more convictions as a result of it. But that is for a future story. But you know what's really making me so mad? This whole thing. It's that Western media isn't reporting it. And if that makes you mad too, please consider sharing this widely. I've linked Nuri's post. I'm linking the Hong Kong media post that brought it to my attention. And I'm asking you, every one of you, to consider sharing this as widely as you can, because on a daily basis, people like me who say there are outside forces operating in Hong Kong, and let's be clear, they're still operating in Hong Kong, are constantly criticized by people who, unlike me, actually are paid to tell lies. I haven't seen a single Benedict Rogers or Luke de Pulford post condemning this violence. They support, they condone, they work for the same sources that are proven to have financed some of these atrocities. A court in Hong Kong yesterday sentenced 3 people to long terms of imprisonment, but in my opinion, not long enough. The sentencing rules allow for up to 20 years. Now, the longest sentence here was for 18 years for one man who seemed to be the ringleader, a man who showed no remorse whatsoever and whose psychological reports indicate would reoffend based on the fact that some of these offences were committed whilst he was on probation. Why didn't they kill lots of people like ordinary terrorists do? Well, it was complete luck. After a bomb in the hospital exploded, they sent each other telegram messages which stated that it hadn't gone as well as expected, but that the failure would teach success. In other words, they'll kill more people next time. Another bomb on a train was discovered by staff before it exploded and the area was evacuated. This is the keystone cops of terrorism we're seeing here. But they were deadly serious. In a public telegram post, they stated, "No matter how solid the Hong Kong police's defense, we have different methods to set," presumably bombs. As Nuri has exposed several times, the US is behind much of the evil machinations of the Hong Kong protests. The National Endowment for Democracy's own records show that it fed tens of millions of US dollars into anti-China groups in Hong Kong over several years. He points out that Jimmy Lai, the incarcerated billionaire, along with his sidekick, right-hand man Mark Simon, a former CIA operative, and a retired Catholic cardinal, Cardinal Zen, were responsible for the dissemination of those funds. Why aren't the US and UK media reporting this? This is not conspiracy. This is proven fact. The NED also provides funding for IPAC, the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China, a large group of elected politicians organized by that man, Luke de Pulford, to disparage China. Facts matter here. We're being told China is bad, while at the same time we're seeing evidence in the West, in both the UK and the US, that has not only educated, trained, financed and supported terrorism in China and continues to do so today. The injustice, as far as I'm concerned, is not that people were convicted and sent to prison. In fact, this is the second such trial. In another trial in November last year, Ng Chi Hung was sentenced to 23 years for conspiring to murder police officers in another thwarted terrorist attack. The injustice is not that Jimmy Lai and Joshua Wong languish in prison. The injustice is not that there's been a national security law implemented and is in place now to prevent a repeat of the 2019 riots. The injustice is not that there are rewards for the return of conviction of criminals to face this justice in the place that they wanted to see destroyed a few years ago. The real injustice is that many of the people involved in organizing, arranging, facilitating, and creating the conditions for billions of Hong Kong dollars in damage, hundreds of injuries, and even several deaths are now on the other side of the world getting paid speaking fees, consulting fees, in freedom movements. They're feted as heroes when in fact they're all part of a terrorist threat to the law-abiding and good people of Hong Kong. I feel very strongly about injustice, and I'm seeing it daily on my social media through people who associate with these criminals. And I deliberately won't use the word alleged criminals here. I use the word criminals because this is what they are. Those who associate with them, those who support them, and those who praise them as freedom fighters have never seen what I've seen. The damage that a terrorist bomb can do, not just to the people it kills or maims, but to the city where it kills and the nameless victims, thousands of them who had to witness the horrors of it. Support for terrorism is terrorism. Let's remember that. And whenever the anti-China politicians fate Jimmy Lai, Joshua Wong, or any of the people outside of China who have a bounty on their heads, let's remind them they're supporting terrorism. They are part of the problem. What happened in Hong Kong was never about freedom. It was never about independence or democracy. Those things were not going to change. They weren't going to change anything. It was about creating terror and trying to make it look like China's fault. Now, because China is proving over and over again in courts and through inquiries and releasing statements that prove that this was US-funded and organized operations, Western media have chosen to ignore it. There's the injustice. Millions of people around the world believe China is bad because they're being misinformed, disinformed. And the reality is the people misinforming them are supporting terrorists and terrorism. That's why I'm appealing to you, the viewers who know me, trust me, and know that the information I provide is honest, fact-based, and tested, supported as well. Please share this one. It's very important news that media consumers around the world need to know but are not seeing. Let's try and help as many of them as possible see it. Thank you for your help in doing this, if you decide to do so. And thanks once again for watching My Take on China, and I hope the next one is not so traumatic. This one made me very angry. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.